electronic music has had this history that a lot of people might have not known about, that it started with real nerds. These were not musicians, these were not people who said I want to compose a song. These were guys who said, okay, how can we hack something to make something else, right? How could we use like a radio that's completely screwed up and it emits this kind of white noise? What can I take with that noise and do? So that's basically how a lot of these things started, and which kind of gave emergence to some of the most earliest electronic music acts.
Honestly, electronic music to me is like, as a philosophical part, I don't want to go in that space, but generally speaking, it's just something which is made not with anything acoustic. It's totally made on either machines or computers, those kind of things, synthesizers, etc. People also record a lot of things which are acoustic, let's say a guitar, and then flip it in something called as samplers and those things. That also falls in digital or electronic music. If I tell you about a band, you'll recognize, okay, there's a guitarist, there's a drummer, and there's a vocalist probably. They're gonna sing and perform on the stage. Whereas half the people don't even know what's the difference between a DJ and a producer. A DJ is someone who performs, if he's just a DJ, performs the music which he doesn't make. And a producer is someone who makes that music which the DJ is going to perform. Simple as that. And if a person is both of them, he can perform and play his own music as well as someone else's music. I feel that genres is something which is like fishes, like different kinds of fishes. We don't even know how many types of fishes are there, like let's say in Pacific Oceans and all those kind of things, because we haven't discovered it yet. So every year there'll be someone experimenting with 2 different genres.
It started becoming a scene where I personally have seen an evolution of genres. In the early 2000s, it was all about house music, and then it slowly started going towards a trend of tech house and minimal techno. Then it kind of started going towards, a scene of techno, drum and bass music. All of these sort of started to emerge.
I am quite pleased, that places like Guwahati, Siliguri, all of these places are now welcoming techno with, their arms wide open, which is an amazing change. And yeah, I do see a lot of smaller cities as well going into techno.
years, there's always been a big debate like the old Goa is gone anymore and is no more, and it's completely different now. It is no more that old Goa that people used to. It's no more the hippie or the hippie paradise as it was before. Things are obviously much more commercialized now. But I think, in spite of all the commercialization and changing things in time, it's always been evolving, and the spirit always lives on. The spirit of Goa always lives on, and that is why it's such a magnetic place that attracts people from all walks of music life. Back in those days, until like the early 2000s, there were a lot of big illegal raves and big parties and stuff, right? So I would say once the rave era kind of died down and the events started to go in the cities and the clubs, and when it started coming in the clubs, that's when it started, I would say, kind of really exploding, because up until then everything was outdoor parties like in the forest or kind of very underground places. The moment it became the club, it started getting more structure. Everything started becoming more structurized, right? I would say back in the day, music was actually not really commercial. It was very underground. Only people who actually knew about music, had the resources, etc., could make the music. Today, it's so popular that even a 10-year-old kid knows about electronic music. So I would say the accessibility of the music is way more now as compared to what it was before. And like I said, everybody's a lot more tech savvy. There's a lot more resources on the planet. So if somebody just wants to learn how to make electronic music, all they have to do is just Google how to make electronic music, and then you have millions of resources for you. Like when we started off, there was no even Google.
Technology has played a huge role in sort of taking electronic music to where it is, thanks to the computing power that's available right now. More advanced software is capable of running on even laptops that you and me have at home, and I think that's opened a whole bunch of new doors and avenues for people to sort of interact with virtual synthesizers and whatnot. Back in the day, yeah, you would have to have a real studio space, a treated space. You would have to have access to synths, which were really, really expensive. But all of that can now be done just on a laptop or a desktop, and yeah, I think that's what technology has played a huge role in terms of shaping how music is being made right now.
Back then, even if I had that, the software to produce on, the internet was slow, so I didn't know how to kind of go around. So I used to read manuals, which was provided by the software itself, and that's kind of hectic. But right now, if you see, the accessibility is like dangerous, because there are so many tutorials out there on YouTube or some other platforms, or courses on Udemy and this that anyone can basically learn this. Back in 90s, also electronic music from the 90s, 80s, or like 2000s, 2010, we still had that quality music, like people were still doing it. Like, so I think, like, let's say if I talk about the software I produce on Ableton or FL Studio, started off with like 2-3 versions before which I'm using right now. But there were people who were still making some banging music back then on the same thing.
We should go back a little bit before even Kraftwerk and all of that. There is something called Music Concrete, which was a bunch of people that were trying to make music without sort of having any end goal, using sounds mainly. So at that time, the tape machine was a very important instrument. It was one of the only recording instruments. So they would use, any kind of sounds recorded through tape. It could be, a mallet striking a glass. It could be any real sound that you hear. They would record it on tape, and then they would sort of loop that tape, and then they would slow down that tape, speed up that tape in order to, create these tones that sounded nothing like anything that you could hear around. So this was some of the stuff that actually influenced even guys like Kraftwerk, all of that, even before synthesizers existed. This, according to what I know, is one of the earliest explorations of electronic music, where sounds were being recorded and manipulated. Their time or speed was being manipulated in order to change the tonality of the sound.
It's kind of hard to say it was because of Goa and Goa trance and everything, because there has been electronic dance music from the 80s. Who actually was an Indian producer called Charanjit Singh, who was actually one of the pioneers of this electronic music in India, I would say. Back in the 80s, like even I think it was 82, 83, he released an album which was only electronic music, So it's just that sad not many people know about it, but he was, I would say, the first proponent of putting kind of electronic music in India at that time. Yes, then Goa came, people from outside came, they got their influences, and they kind of fused the East and West. Club culture began more and more here. All the different other sorts of music started coming in, like house music, hip hop, or whatever it is, So I would say it's not just Goa trend. It's been always, that's the thing. And for many people think from outside that it's not been there. It's fairly new in India, but we know that it's been there since the beginning of late 80s or even the early 90s. There's always been clubs here. There's always been DJs here. It's just that it was not so known to the world.
Go back to the early 90s when there were just a handful of DJs in the country, and there was no sort of specialty at that point of time with DJs when it came to a genre or a sound. Of course, there were a few who were passionate about certain sound that they wanted to do. Otherwise, the DJ was broadly considered as an entertainer at a party. You had to be sort of versatile. You had to be able to play different kinds of sounds, entertain different kinds of audience, and it was more of a club driven scene at that time. A club would hire a DJ, and the DJ would work with that club, and he would not play anywhere else. And then slowly the whole era of DJs touring started as more venues opened up in the country, right? So DJs would go from city to city. So at that time, I would say the scene was very, very inaccessible to outsiders, because it was not easy for someone to get into the profession. It was not like you decide that you want to become a DJ, you join a school, and then the next month you're playing. No, you had to intern under some DJ. You had to go to a venue, and by intern I mean you had to carry the record bags, you had to do the dirty work.
take your craft seriously, everybody will take you seriously. But don't expect to just get away with things because you're a woman. Like, you have to basically, there's this misconception that women don't know what they're doing, or like they're not good producers or whatever. Like, that just comes with the fact that there has been no access for the longest time.
I was always very keen on having a future in the music industry since my childhood. And when I was very young, my mom and dad actually started sneaking me into parties because I was like the same height I am now. And that's when I got to witness a lot of DJs and, you know, the whole atmosphere and how amazing it is, and to just get out of your head, and it's a completely different space altogether. So that's what inspired me to be a DJ.
I've been fairly independent since I was young. Like, I live on my own. I don't have any restrictions. Like, but a lot of the women in this country, that's one of like the main restrictions, right? Like the stigma around it. My parents are like Hajis, you know, but they still have dealt with all of me, like doing all of this, right? So it has to come from like a home place also, like if this scene has to change in that way.
The root, you know, why there are less women in this field? Families. Now you'll ask me like, how? Because first thing, this is a nightlife. India is like, again, conservative families. Nobody, like, you know, I mean, of course, now things are different, but if you ask any typical conservative family dad or mother that how do you feel if your daughter, she's stepping wearing short clothes and makeup and she's stepping out post 10 p.m. Do you want your daughter, like, you know, to continue this profession? They will say no. Most of them, not everyone. There are, I know a lot of people, they support me, but typically, if the typical families, people who actually go to clubs, they know what happens. People who understand, they know what is music, underground scene, electronic scene. But the typical families, when they go out for dinner or anything, you know, experience what they see, okay, yahan pe sirf it is good for food and alcohol, and when they see some woman, she's dancing on, like, you know, some typical tunes, they consider it like this is not good for a daughter. Not the regular people, the regular families, they don't go for clubbing every week. So I feel that they are not educated this industry scene wise, so that's the reason they're not supporting daughters.
People are actually replacing men with women now, you know, because who wants to come see a guy if they can come see a girl, right? Entertainment value, right? Yeah. It's not necessarily for the right reasons, but whatever, some reason, right?
Girls versus guys, when they are fresh into the industry, how many gigs are they getting, you know? Sometimes it's like either the guy is really popular, has a lot of friends in the industry, okay, he gets a good way, you know, good head start to his career. But with a chick, it as disadvantage it can be sometimes, you know, because people look at you a certain way and expect you to dress a certain way or whatever. It's also they are also amused, you know, they are like, wow, a girl is into the scene, like let's book her and, you know, see how she performs.
There are definitely some parts of it that are annoying, like when people tell me that, oh, we needed a girl on the lineup, so we called you, or we need a girl on the release, so we called you. It kind of makes me feel like my art's not good enough and I'm just getting this shit because I'm a girl. But then eventually you just got to take the opportunity, make space, facilitate other people, you know, sort of hold the door open for more people. That's the only thing you can do.
a lot of girls, in fact, get more gigs in the beginning of their career just because they are women. It's not right, but it is what it is, you know. And so, but also, of course, while that is a plus side that you're getting more gigs in the beginning, there's also the bad side that, you know, they start expecting things from you, or they just assume that, oh, okay, she's in the nightlife industry, so maybe we can try. But as I said, after a while it all fades out and they just respect you for your music. When I was still starting out, and you know, I was making sets, and I was on different lineups in different genres and all over basically. And I would play like a good set. Sometimes, you know, the promoter would come and be like, oh, did you plan that set yourself, or did someone do it for you? Did a guy do it for you? And even when I was learning how to make music, for example, a lot of people were like, oh, are you really going to learn this, or are you just gonna, like, you know, pay someone to make music for you, something like that. So those comments definitely still come a little bit, even now, even after 12 years in the industry, masked as jokes.
I was playing at some big gig, and when I finished my set, it was backstage. This happened backstage when I was leaving the stage, and there were 2-3 guys, men. Somebody literally said this: oh, she got this opportunity just because she must have slept with the organizer. I just looked at him, I smiled, I was like, thank you. See you at the next gig.
Do assume that you're there because of your, like, being a woman or something like that. That's my only, I feel, the discrimination there. It's more about people acknowledging your art rather than your gender in a way. But I guess it's a start, you know, like, instead of booking 7 guys, now they book 5 guys and 2 girls, you know. And now if that means they have to call up the girl and be like, hey, we need a girl, like, cool, whatever, at least there's 2 girls now, you know. And those 2 girls might inspire 10 others in the dance floor to do it.
This is again my message to a lot of families and the women, upcoming DJs, a producer who wants to get into this field. Yes, this is the negative side of about nightlife, that women, you know, they're just considered as entertainers, and even if you do it on your own, you work hard independently, you do everything, and you don't get that. But again, this entire industry is not like that. If you talk about this ratio, if 10% people are talking about just because you got this opportunity, because of you must have done something wrong, you must have slept with someone just because you're a woman. But trust me, my experience, 90% I've met like nice men, nice people. And why am I here? Because of those good people, right? So I would like to talk about them instead of talking about these morons who consider, okay, women is successful, that woman is successful in any field because of this or that. No, just ignore them. You have to thank always and appreciate those who are actually supporting. So, and we don't talk about them. So yeah, thank you whoever, you know, supports the actual talent in any field. So yeah, we are here. Every artist, we need you.
I think anybody who wants to get into this should do it, like, learn from a professional, like, find a proper school, you know, because they usually have networks further on, right? Like, yeah, it's best to find your tribe that way.
First thing, we are in India. Our parents, they ask us, or, you know, it's mandatory that once you're done with your graduation, you should get into either you should become a doctor or an engineer. Why? Because there are no music schools. the actual big music schools like we have in abroad. So of course we need it, like, I guess there are few now, but compared to regular colleges and schools versus music schools, the ratio is less.
Sorry.
So that's the difference between learning from internet and having a teacher. If you're learning from internet, you can easily say you'll take 3 to 4 years. And when you're learning from a mentor or a teacher, the time of learning goes down significantly. See, information is there on YouTube also, and it's there at institutes also. But the thing is, in institutes, all the information is segregated. It's basically tailor-made for you so that you can do stepwise learning. But in YouTube, all the information from pro level to beginner level, everything is scattered around. So you basically get confused.
When I am teaching, I teach my students, like, that even if anything goes wrong, the old school DJs, they were not used to of this laptop thing and the advanced technologies. So by using advanced technologies, anybody can play a DJ set. But if anything goes wrong, you should be able to figure out where it is going wrong, where it went wrong technically, and just by using your ear. So I kind of call it blind DJing. I'm a DJ teacher, so I teach them the blind side.
Music learning is a very gradual, slow and very painful process. And if you're expecting that you'll join an institute and within few months you'll be a rock star, then don't join an institute. Because if you're not willing to give that dedication, that hard work for learning, then it's not gonna work. You'll basically give up halfway and then you'll be wasting your money. So no institute will help you in that case.
That is still our vision, and in the next 2-3 years, like, we want to be one of the biggest companies to host events in India, mostly in India, because and take these local artists who are not so well known and bring them to a level where everyone knows them internationally. That is our vision, and so that's why we got into this basically.
Be it the production, the lights, they should sync with the music. Is also an important aspect in if you go for any gig. So it's a long process, but like in the end, the satisfaction is when the gig happens and it's a hit. Nothing. The feeling is
it's
surreal. Amazing feeling. Most of the Indians don't understand rave. For them, rave is all about drugs and whatnot. For them, it's basically this, but it's not actually that. Rave is a feeling. For us, it's a vibe.
Anything with BPM above 140 is happy.
Techno. It's damn subjective what rave culture is. For some people it might be dancing, for some people it might be music, for some people it's just escaping from whatever shit that's going on in your life. But what makes it important is that you are there at that time together, whatever the reason be, and you're looking at each other, you're smiling and dancing for that 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, 18 hours, whatever. And that just means a fuck, like that takes off the load like from 1 week of bad days you've had. And I think that's worth it.
Personally, like I told, it's about being able to be expressive. I don't have to care about who is watching me, and I can still enjoy the music by dancing the way I like. I'm generally not a very expressive person. I don't think I'll dance in public ever, but this gives me an opportunity to do so. So yeah.
So I don't think the notion of expressing yourself through music and dance is limited to EDM in Bangalore. I think that most of the places where you can dance till late at night play EDM music. So it's more of a correlation than seeking out EDM. Yeah, I'd say that's what's happening. For me at least, I don't know.
I think self-expression comes in freedom. For example, it's me getting to wear this choker, and it's Joe getting to wear this amazing Cleopatra dress, right? Without a lot of judgmental looks. And you can only get this in very specific spaces in Bangalore.
By the way, if you didn't know, it requires a varied skill set. It's hard. I mean, having attended so many gigs, you sort of figure out how hard it is to play music, how hard DJing is also. I mean, like all this pops out of DJing. In 1990s, we didn't have this sort of culture so much. We had DJing, right? The cassettes would be taped up, and then you have all the informations on a cassette that's on loop. But now things have changed a lot, but it is based on a very big techno plate where everything is recorded on different buttons that you have to hit at the right moment at the right time. That requires a lot of music theory.
Like one could just get a laptop and a headphones to make music. I thought, like you need a big studio, big people to know about, or like big money to actually make music. But when I realized you only need a laptop and a headphones to make music, and I was like, okay, I try to put from everything, from deep house to house music to slap house to just lo-fi. Take my inspiration from anime and stuff, because I like those kind of music stuff.
Being an artist, we play according to the trend to get ourselves more recognition and to get more gigs, to get paid obviously for the gig. So let's say if a couple more years, let's say trance is booming, then we have to switch our genres to make sure we get more gigs and we put ourselves out there in the market. So yeah, that's about it in the genre field basically right now. Yeah, techno is booming right now. Wherever you see, techno parties are happening every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, everywhere. Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Pune. Rajasthan also right now, a festival is going on called Earth, and yeah, that's pretty good. And if you get to play over there, it's a good deal for you as well. When you're getting more recognized, when it's a big festival as well.
The music industry or the clubs in Bangalore are spoon feeding techno to the people, which can be good or can be bad, because sometimes if you push the wrong kind of music and still call it as techno, it kind of saturates the whole entire music scene. in electronic music, DJing and music production, I think at least in India goes hand in hand, because if you want to make money as an artist, I think you have to also perform outside, because the revenue that you make through your music is very, very less.
It's always hand in hand. Like if you want to be a DJ who's gonna play in the clubs all the time and doesn't want to like produce music, it is always gonna be others' music you are gonna be playing. But there's not gonna be your thing which you have to like. You can't like say people that this is my song. You can just tell that this is my set where I mixed different kind of songs. So, and people will more understand you by your like releases, what kind of an artist you are and what sound you follow, and all those things will be more clear if you are into production as well.
Does create a divide, because a computer we might assume is very cheap, but then for a person who's struggling to have a roof above their head, might not even be able to afford a guitar which costs a few thousand rupees. So it might be a far-fetched dream to even buy a computer and get started. But then there are people that we know who have made careers with a second-hand laptop, a broken laptop, 300 rupees earphones that you get in a electronic shop, and they have managed to make music, they've managed to make records, they have managed to make their presence felt. That it's not so much about any of the equipment or the gear.
I did not have any musical background zero. There is no one in my entire family in music, so I'm the first person. Even I'm just a DJ and music producer. I'm the first one in my family. So first thing, it starts from your, roots. If they don't understand, first thing, it becomes really difficult to get the support, and you have to do everything on your own. Now versus I have my friends, their families, they are privileged. My other friends, they privileged as in financially, music wise, they had this support. And so to get at any certain stage independently without having any support, no relative or financial support, we have to work hard, like really hard. And I have got replaced by some artists, just because they had someone like in their family who belongs to the scene, or again the social media numbers. Just because I don't have XYZ numbers, or maybe I'm not that famous on social media, they come to me, they block the date, and they have all these conversation mails, and the last moment, not every time, but there are once in my journey, twice, thrice, maybe more than that, I got replaced by these privileged kids or artists.
Notion that only maybe rich people go to the gigs, but that is not the case, because if you're keeping a big artist, right, you have to keep the tickets at that rate, and then that class of people would go there. But then a place like Pune, where gigs happen, small local artists also. If you ever go to Pune, and if you ever go to this place, Penthouse or anywhere where there's no cover charge or there's no entry for a small local artist, any kind of person comes there. Like everyone comes there, and there's versatile crowd. There's like diversified, as you said. So the classes are also, everyone is like mixed and everything. So just because there's a notion of this class divide in techno, because the main gigs are only going into the picture, like into the eyes of the people, that ye ho raha hai, so ye to bahut mehenga hai. But that is not the case everywhere, right?
So it also depends on your spending parity, and so people who cannot afford this kind of money, naturally you will tend to see people liking towards more other kinds of music, and so they will spend for events that they can afford. So, and naturally, let's say less commercial or underground music do not cost so much, because one, it's more about the quality of the music than anything else. If you're doing a commercial event with a commercial DJ, which would cost a lot more money, obviously the ticket prices will go high, and then you're only targeting those kind of people who can afford this and who like that particular kind of music. And of course, some will just want to be a part of it because it's cool. And some may have the money, some don't.
Like now people are more open to different things, because there's a lot of artists that come from all around the world and play in India, so you are getting exposed to it slowly. So I think that opens up like a lot of local artists to play different stuff as well. Like at parties, you're basically stuck between pleasing the people in front of you and pleasing yourself, right? So you want to stay entertained and you want them to stay entertained, so you have to find a middle ground. I think that's the art of DJing for sure.